Well, I'm very glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm open to questions, so who would like to begin? It just came to me. I think maybe I'd been thinking about it for some time, but not in any conscious way. And when I started it, and I can tell you exactly when I started it, January 3rd, 2011, I remember the day. It was snowing, another snow day. Last winter in New York was brutal. It snowed all the time and it was very, very cold. And I remember writing the first few blocks of prose and not really sure what I was doing. And then as I went on, the book started to take shape for me. But it was in the process of doing it that I found out what it was I wanted to do. And right from the start, I thought of it as a kind of musical composition, kind of fugue. So each one of those blocks of prose is a theme or a note, and I do the first theme, second theme, third theme, fourth, and then I'm jumping back and forth in time. So it's not a continuous narrative. It has more of the structure of a string quartet or a piano sonata. And I guess I found it as I was doing it. And each day I would go into my room, not quite sure what I was going to do. And then it would come to me. I wrote much more than I actually published in the book. There were many things I took out that didn't work. One of the things I was planning to do was write about other people and encounters with people who had a meaningful role in my life. But when I looked at that material, it didn't work. It just didn't fit. And so I had to take all of that out. And the book got simpler and sparer than I thought it was going to be. But, you know, every work has its own logic, and you find it as you're doing it. So that's how it was written. I didn't make anything up. This is true. It's autobiographical. Yes, and when I was 14, I was next to a boy who was killed by lightning. It absolutely changed my life. It was one of the most significant events I've ever lived through. I think it formed how I think about the world. And yes, the minute Siri and I were married, there was an enormous clap of thunder. Why would I make this up? It's too stupid to make up. But it's felt so extraordinarily powerful that the sky should have opened up the way it did at the moment we were declared husband and wife. So you have to understand, though, that these autobiographical works that I've written are, to the best of my ability, books of memory and real events. And that if I wanted to make up a story, I could easily do that. I've done that many times. And I would just call it a novel. So in these books of nonfiction, that's exactly what they are, nonfiction. In the book, I never say that writing heals wounds. I don't say that, and I don't feel that. I don't believe that. One might be wounded in some way, but writing doesn't really help to heal that wound. Why did I write about my body as a subject? Well, because it interests me. I mean, we are our bodies. Yes, we have minds and we think and we have spirits, brains, but finally, You know, the materiality of who we are is a fascinating subject. And it seems to me that it hasn't been addressed enough. So I wanted to address it in this book. Boy, what's the most exciting thing about writing? That's a wonderful question. I think, first of all, it's the excitement of not being sure about what you're doing. The feeling of being lost in the beginning. And then slowly, slowly, slowly coming to some kind of understanding of what you're trying to do. But it all comes from unconscious parts of myself, and I think every writer, really. And then the strangeness of the things you discover, the unimaginable unpredictability of all of it is, I think, what makes writing so exciting. And then there's also just the craft of it, trying to make good sentences, trying to make something better than it was, improving, feeling the rhythm and the music of the language, just getting it better and better, sharper and sharper. There's a pleasure in that kind of work. It's almost like being a carpenter and making a really nice table. Not a table that wobbles, but something that can last for a long time and give a lot of pleasure to the people who are sitting at that table. Some of that pleasure comes in writing too. Readers, well, I don't really know what readers expect. I can't possibly know. I think every book, every work of art, in a way, is a gift to another person. That gift can be received happily or rejected, but every artist is offering his work openly to the spectator or the reader. I think books, when they're really good, books that we love, the books that we carry around inside of us long after we've read them, are the ones in which we've felt a real human connection with the writer. And I suppose, ideally, I would like my books to make that kind of connection that would be, you know, an unforgettable one. But, of course, sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't, and you can't know what is going to speak to other people, which of course is what makes it all very interesting. There's no formula.
Hola. De sus viajes como marino en un petrolero al escritor de éxito que soy, ¿el éxito apabulla?
These are questions I can't think of how to answer. Writing this book, as I was saying, I was trying to look at myself from the outside. It's very hard to do that. And, you know, that was the effort. But as I live my life, not as a writer, but just as a person, I find it very difficult to look at myself from the outside. I'm living inside myself. I have the things I want to do. I have my very boring routine of getting up in the morning and drinking some tea and then going into a little room all day and trying to write as well as I can. Everything else from the outside, I mean, all the cameras here, all the people here, it's all very nice and I appreciate it very much. But it's not as though this is what I'm looking for in the world. It just seems to happen. So I cope with it as best I can, I suppose. But mostly I don't think about it.